are plenty of other places you can continue on the conversation. In fact, that's exactly what Lawrence Tate and Jack Kendall-Brown do on their TalkingLoyal podcast, which is all about football. And both the guys are joining us on the show today. Hi, Lawrence. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
Good, thank you. And Jack, how are you?
Afternoon, all good. How are you doing, Akylah? You good?
All good. Lovely to have you both onto the show and talking a bit about yourselves and your podcast. I just want to set the scene, though, first of all, for our listeners, because Lawrence, you're an Arsenal supporter. Jack,
correct.
You're a Spurs fan.
Yep, indeed.
Are you two actually friends?
I'll let Tate start. Yeah. No, we are, yeah.
All right. So, okay, I won't hold anything against either of you. I know there'll be a few people picketing around the BBC Essex studios about the Arsenal supporter in the room. So, Lawrence, we'll start with you a bit. So, what made you decide you wanted to start a podcast with Jack?
So, funny enough, it was actually to do with Arsenal Spurs. And Jack and I were in Barcelona on a stag do. And it was May 2022, and it was coming up to a very, very big game. Spurs versus Arsenal, fourth versus fifth. Arsenal were in fourth, Spurs fourth. Basically, winner takes all. Whoever wins that game would have got into the fourth place position. And as Jack's sitting there with a nice smile on his face, his team, Spurs, ran out 3-0 winners against Arsenal. Absolutely slaughtered us, battered us 3-0. And it was the day after on the beach. We were a bit hungover. I was very, very sad. Jack and a lot of the other Spurs boys on the trip were very happy. And we're just having a general conversation. And then I think Jack or one of us brought up the idea of, why don't we start a podcast?
Just the conversation kept going. It always starts with a stag do, doesn't it, honestly? Jack, I mean, do you remember much of the stag do, Jack?
Yeah, no, it was good. And that night in particular was very good. But like Tate was saying, it was sort of one of those, we'll start a podcast, we do this, do that, and sort of a throwaway comment. But we thought about it, and I had some equipment here, and like Tate's got a mic and whatever else, and we thought, sod it, let's give it a go. And a couple of years later, we're still doing it. So
I mean, that is saying something, because it's one thing to have a chat with your mates in Barcelona, as you do, about football, but to then transfer those conversations into a podcast. How have you found it, Lawrence?
Yeah, not too bad, actually. To start with, a bit nerve-wracking. Like I won't listen back to the first episode. My toes cringe, my toes do curl. But I feel like we get better and better. And we have had some former footballers on and other special guests, and not becoming an interviewer, but trying to practice those techniques is something that we've really enjoyed, and we think we're thriving doing it personally.
Fair enough. I mean, Jack, what would you say in terms of the dynamic between the two of you, how you come across in this podcast?
I'd say, like you said, the rivalry aside, I feel like Lawrence, or Tate as we call him, he's very statistical and based, and his comments are normally backed up by numbers, and he goes probably more in depth. But whereas that's my Tottenham side, but when we win, it's brash, it's in his face, and it's a bit more like that. But we try and make it as just you and your mates having a chat down a pub or at football or whatever at home with your family. So we want to be like Neville and Carragher, but we know we're at a certain level. So we like that.
I think the Tottenham supporters listening are nodding their head about the brash thing. I mean, so Jack, you're from Danbury, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Danbury. So you are local and supporting an East End football team. Lawrence, I do apologise. If you're called Tate, I'll call you Tate from now on. Arsenal supporter. Are you from London?
No, I'm from Chelmsford. So
you're from Chelmsford?
Born and bred Hatfield Peveril, but I live in Chelmsford, yeah.
And you don't support the Spurs? All right. Just saying. Do you actually have, I mean, there's not really much rivalry between Chelmsford and Danbury though, really, is there? So I guess that doesn't come into play.
No.
So is it's a friendly show?
It's very, we don't just go into full arguments, and we do like each other. There is a bond between friends there, yeah.
So you mentioned some special guests that you've had on the show before. Go on, list a few. Who are we going to be shocked by?
Go on, Tate.
So we had our first guest January last year, I think it was, and it was our Matt Jarvis. It was a former England player and played in the Premier League, and he's probably our most well-known guest so far. And we've got him through DM through Instagram, and he was kind enough to come on the show, and he was really good. We've also had Greg Halford, who's also played in Premier League. Rocket, who was a TV personality on Soccer AM, a very well-known show.
Mm-hmm.
He was very fun, a very good guest. And then we've had Adam Lafondra, who's also played in Premier League and played for Sydney and played for Mumbai and currently plays for Hibernian at the moment. And then we've had Aaron McLean, Reece Brown, and most recently Dave Kitson. I don't think I've missed anyone off, have I, Jack?
Not off the top of my head, no.
I hope not.
Yeah.
They'll get mad otherwise.
Yeah.
Who's been your favourite, or probably who said the most surprising thing on the show?
Recently we had Dave Kitson, like Tate said, and he's quite an interesting person and very well spoken, and he's quite strongly has a strong opinion about things going on in football and certain subjects. So yeah, he's probably quite surprising that. Yeah, he sort of surprised me in what he said and what he had to say. For me, he was a very good guest. Yeah.
How about you, Tate?
I agree with what Jack said about Dave Kitson. But probably the funniest one, if I always say we were to recommend someone, go pick a show, was the Rocket one. He was a really big, bubbly character, a fun TV personality, and was just comfortable behind the mic. And he had some great stories from the TV show that we used to like watching when we were younger.
All right, there we go. So if we want to start listening to the show, we'll start with the Rocket episode and then carry on. I'm guessing we can find you on all the usual platforms online. And what have you got coming up over the next few episodes that we absolutely should not miss?
Yeah, we do it weekly on a Monday night. So as of this morning, there's one released. That's our 84th episode, but yeah, we're always looking for the next guest and next sort of either current professional, ex-professional, or TV personality, whatever it might be. But yeah, we're weekly, so there's always something coming up. Looking forward to the next week's episode, really, on the recap of the weekend, basically.
Well, I'm sure that there are a few local BBC Essex presenters, aka Glenn Pennyfather, who might do wonderfully on your show. But thanks so much, Jack and Lawrence, for having a chat with us about the Talking Loyal podcast, made by locals as well, Danbury and Chelmsford. And it all started with a stag do. I love that. Thanks to you both. We'll keep an eye out for it. And you guys have a really wonderful rest of your day. Cheers.